I managed superstar Billy Graham in Chicago. And one night, Ivan Putski slammed me on top of you, and you had so many bumps on your body, it hurt my back for a month. And I managed Harley Race in 1968. When I found out I was going to be here tonight to be inducted with Harley, knowing Harley, I thought we were going to be indicted. But this man, we had more fun together, and he is one tough man. Believe me, one tough man. The things he's been through in life, 6 or 7, how many times world champion? Harry, wake up and I'll throw dirt on you. 8 times heavyweight champion of the world. Excellent. Then I managed Bob Remus. As we went down the back roads in Peoria, just laughing, knowing our wives would never believe we were riding with 4 fat girls, taking us to the airport so we could save $20. He says to me, if this car flips and we're dead, they're never going to believe us. Then he said, Bobby, stop it. You've made them all laugh, and they've only got 7 teeth. And that was counting us. And then I went from there to manage it, and everybody they threw in front of me in the WWE. Oh, excuse me, did I say something? Wait, let me get this now. You want to talk about wildlife? When I came here, they had the 3 Freebirds. They had the Junkyard Dog, Mad Dog, 2 Bulldogs, a guy with a Matilda, another dog. There was a Junkyard Dog. You had insects. You had 2 killer bees. You had serpents. You had a guy with a snake. You had a Hawaiian guy with a lizard. I'm not done yet. And you ready for this? And to top it off, I'm the weasel doing commentary with a gorilla. Damn it.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
Hey now. Alright everybody, welcome back to the Podcast Express. This week's edition is dedicated to the memory of Bobby The Brain Heenan. By far, one of my favorite characters of all time, probably the greatest all-around performer in the history of wrestling, and I'm not just saying that, it's being said by all of his peers and all of his fans, and you got a taste of just how funny that guy was in his Hall of Fame speech from back in 2004, that I played a clip of that here at the beginning of the show, but Bobby, or Joe, what are some of your favorite Bobby the Brain Heenan moments?
You know, Bobby the Brain, he was kind of phasing out of WWE right as I was old enough to get memories of him, so a lot of what I know was, you know, some of the wrestling tapes that I was getting from you when I was a kid and some of the wrestling DVDs. I couldn't specify one exact moment, but what I really liked about him, I think if you're trying to be a heel manager or a heel announcer, Bobby the Brain is exactly what you need to study. He just everything, the way he talked about people, the way he fed off of other people. Him and Vince McMahon, I mean, could easily be the best broadcast team that WWE's ever had. And that's crazy to say because you've got Jim Ross, who's one of the best, if not the best of all time. But the way Vince McMahon and Bobby the Brain fed off of each other, and just the Brain talked shit on everybody, man.
Yeah.
And it was natural. It came to him quickly. It didn't feel like it was rushed or very scripted. I mean, he was Jerry Lawler, but better.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's not to knock Jerry Lawler because he's great, but I just felt like Bobby the Brain was the best of all time for what he did. I think right around the time I started watching WWE, he may have been in WCW, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had a short run over there right as I started to get into it, and I really didn't get to watch WCW much. So unfortunately, everything I have of him is just my old wrestling DVDs. I have the first season of Monday Night Raw. They called a season on the DVDs to try to study him a little bit more. But man, that guy, he was brilliant. He was a heel that you love to hate.
Yeah, no, he was great. On the WWE Network, they actually have, if you go to the Beyond the Ring part on the WWE Network portion or section, they have his Beyond the Ring, his documentary that they did on him. It's like 45 minutes. It's a really good documentary, real short, real nice. It really goes into his history, and he was the absolute greatest manager of all time. It's unquestioned. Some people will debate whether or not he's the greatest color commentator of all time. I'm going to say he is. At least he was my favorite of all time. Yeah. Because when I got started watching wrestling, he was a manager and a commentator at the same time. He used to do this show called Primetime Wrestling on the USA Network, and it was just him and Gorilla Monsoon. And it was them in front of a green screen, just bantering back and forth, and then they would kick it to matches. And most all of the matches were long and boring, and nobody cared about the matches, but everybody still watched just to see Bobby and Gorilla go at it for, I think it was a 2-hour show. And he really just showed his range as a performer and as an actor. Some people in wrestling don't like that term, but he was very much a character actor. I think that he could have been great at any kind of sitcom, especially the ones that they had back in the 80s. I think he ended up getting his own show on the USA Network that was produced by the WWF, but it was not very good. It was quite bad. But I think that if he had the right creative team around him, he could have actually had a Johnny Carson type show. And if you guys go to the gtppodcast.com, yesterday, while I was on a break at work, I spent like 20 minutes on it, but I wrote a really nice tribute to The Brain. And I kind of talk about his history and some of my favorite memories of him. One of my all-time favorites was when the Rockers broke up. They broke up on an episode of The Barbershop, hosted by Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. And some of you podcast fans know, get that inside joke, but his commentary was absolutely classic. He was in the background, and then when Sean turned on Marty, nobody saw that coming. But as soon as Sean turned on Marty, Bobby goes, "I knew that was going to happen." And it's like, and of course, no, he didn't. And then when he threw Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window, Brain goes, "Did you see that? He just tried to jump out of the window." and like, when you're a kid, you don't understand what's going on. Like, my favorite tag team of all time had just broken up. And I didn't even catch that when it happened. But, when you go back and you watch some of the stuff, you watch it back, and you just hear what he had to say. The guy is just so ridiculous, so funny, so quick. And let's go and talk about some of the history of Bobby the Brain Heenan. So he was born Raymond Lewis Heenan on November 1st, 1944. He adopted the name Bobby the Brain. Do you want to know why he called himself Bobby?
No idea.
All right. Well, I asked you if you wanted to know why.
Oh,
would you
yes,
like
actually,
to hear?
I do.
Oh.
Yeah, I never knew the story behind that. So yeah.
Okay. So, you've heard of Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, the very first WWF World Heavyweight Champion, he won the title in a fake tournament held overseas, and his manager for a long time was Bobby Davis. So he came in, and instead of he wanted to change his name to Bobby because that was his favorite manager. So little known trivia there for you. That's not even on his Wikipedia page. I just happen to know that. So,
yeah.
But anyway, he called himself a Pretty Boy Bobby Heenan for a long time, and then he ended up having to change it because there was another wrestler named Pretty Boy, and he ended up being called Bobby the Brain whenever he was managing Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens. They were a great tag team in AWA. And he spent a little bit of time there from, I want to say, 1974 to 1984. Now, how he got his start was pretty cool. He was actually just a guy that worked at the arena there in Indianapolis, and he would grab the guys' ring jackets. He would run errands for them. I think he worked directly for a guy named Dick the Bruiser, who was real popular in Indianapolis. And then eventually he ended up working his way into becoming a pro wrestler, and he wrestled for a little bit. And then he decided to become a manager because, well, he wasn't the biggest guy and he wasn't the fittest guy. And he actually transitioned really good as a manager. He worked for World Wrestling Association from 1967 to 1974. That's the one that's out of Indianapolis. And then he made his way over to the AWA in 1974, where he managed Nick Bockwinkel and Ray Stevens. And then he went on to manage Bockwinkel as he was the AWA champion. And he, as the AWA champion, that's where Hulk Hogan really became a household name in the Midwest area. And that's how he got put on the radar of Vince McMahon Jr., because that's the first time that Hulkamania was a thing. Hulk Hogan was the biggest babyface in the country at the time, and he was chasing Bockwinkel, the champion, and he was chasing Bobby the Brain Heenan, who was probably the most hated guy in the whole company. And then from there, he went over to the WWF in 1984, and there's lots of stories going around as to why he left, but ultimately he left because they were going to pay him a lot more money. And he was tired of the cold weather there in Minneapolis, where the AWA was stationed out of. So when he got there, he was supposed to manage Jesse the Body Ventura, but Jesse Ventura had to retire because of blood clots in his legs. So they just stuck him with this guy, Big John Studd. Joe, you ever heard of him?
I've heard the name, but I couldn't tell you about any of his wrestling.
Well, you got a lot of homework to do. So in WrestleMania 1, he managed Big John Studd in a match against Andre the Giant, and the prize, it was called a body slam challenge, and the prize was supposed to be $5,000. And I'll never forget it. Of course, Andre won. He body slammed Big John Studd, and he grabbed this big gym bag full of cash that Bobby had, filled. It was probably just ones, who knows, but it was filled with cash. And Andre grabs the bag and he starts throwing money out to the crowd. And then Bobby sneaks into the ring, runs behind him, grabs the bag from Andre, and just took off running to the dressing room. I always thought that was a great moment in wrestling. Just little subtle things like that. He was such a smarmy little weasel of a heel. And he managed other guys, Paul Orndorff, King Kong Bundy. He actually managed King Kong Bundy in the main event of WrestleMania 2 against Hulk Hogan. He ended up managing Andre the Giant for WrestleMania 3 against who else? Hulk Hogan. And that's where they set the indoor attendance record that stood for a long time. He managed Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, the Brainbusters, Ravishing Rick Rude, Harley Race, Hercules, the Barbarian, Mr. Perfect, Red Rooster, Brooklyn Brawler. He managed a lot of guys, and then he ended up transitioning over to be a color commentator because he had broken his neck and had to have surgery, and he just could not do it anymore. But in 1991, he actually came out of retirement as a manager and managed Ric Flair, but that did not last very long because Ric Flair's lifestyle was really hard to keep up with. He ended up staying with the WWF until 1993, and then the travel really got to him, and his daughter was living down in Alabama, so he went ahead and got a contract with WCW and worked there for from 1993 till about 1999, maybe 2000. And he ended up getting fired, which was a whole controversy. He got replaced by this fat piece of shit named Mark Madden, who sucked at his job. But Mark Madden was the color commentator until WCW died. And then after that, he kind of he didn't really do a whole lot. He ended up getting diagnosed with throat cancer in 2002. And he really struggled. He had a surgery, and then in 2004 he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, if you listen to the clip that I played at the beginning, you can tell he's really having trouble speaking. Well, about 5 or 6 years ago, he actually had his lower jaw taken off, and he just did not look like the same guy. But he still made it out to all the WrestleCons and WrestleCades and all the fan fests. He was still selling his books, signing autographs, doing all of that, telling jokes. Bubba Ray Dudley was on Busted Open Radio recently, and he was, telling, Bobby, hey, you're a legend. I look up to you, blah, blah, blah. And I guess Bobby was grunting at Bubba, and Bubba couldn't really make out what he was saying because obviously Bobby couldn't speak anymore. So Bobby turned over, looked at his wife Cindy, started grunting, grunt, 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 grunt. And then Cindy said, "Oh, okay." And Bubba goes, "What did he say?" And she looks right at him. She goes, "He wants you to go get him a refill of Viagra." So, and that was and apparently that wasn't that long ago. So, it just shows you the kind of guy he was, and just how funny he was. He was funny until the day he died. I actually, in the column that I wrote, or blog, whatever you want to call it, I wrote, and I literally believe this. He is our version of Charlie Chaplin, the Three Stooges, Johnny Carson, and Howard Cosell all wrapped into one. So if any of you guys are really young and you don't know the greatness of Bobby the Brain Heenan, do yourself a favor, go onto YouTube, look him up. Look up a clip of David Letterman. I'm sure everybody knows who David Letterman is. Look up a clip of David Letterman talking to Bob Costas back in 1989 and telling Bob just how much he likes and admires Bobby the Brain Heenan for his ability to incite a crowd. It's classic stuff. And then on the network, like I said, they have the Bobby the Brain Heenan story. That's a really, really good documentary. One of the better ones they've ever done. So, hats off to Bobby the Brain Heenan. He's an absolute legend. Rest in peace, brother. I wish I would have had a chance to meet him, but by the time I was an adult, he was already having his issues with cancer and things like that. So, it was a real sad day for me. This one affected me pretty bad. I was thinking a lot about Bobby the last couple of days, not in a sad way, just thinking about all the fun times that I got to watch him on television. For all those years, man, all the primetime wrestling episodes, Wrestling Challenge, all the pay-per-views he would call. You know what? I would challenge also everybody to go and take a look at Royal Rumble 92, and his commentary during that match is the greatest single performance of any broadcaster that I think I've ever heard in my life. He was an absolute classic. Did you ever see Royal Rumble 92?
Is that the one? Was it Bret Hart and who else? Or was that the Ric Flair one?
That's the Ric Flair one.
The Ric Flair one. All right. I've watched just the ending of Royal Rumble 92. I haven't got a chance to watch the full match yet.
So he was, he was a former manager of Flair, and then he handed over manager duties to Mr. Perfect. And when Ric Flair comes out at number 3, Bobby loses his fucking mind. He's so pissed that he's like, "It's not fair to Flair. It's not fair to Flair," and blah, blah, blah. And then in the match, Flair's been in there for a little while, and he's fighting Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake's got him in a hold of some sort, and then Roddy Piper comes in. And Roddy Piper immediately knocks down Jake Roberts, and then Bobby goes, "Oh, thank you, Piper. It's a kilt, it's not a skirt. It's a kilt, it's not a skirt." And then 5 seconds later, when Piper hits Flair, he goes, "You no good, dirty, rotten. It's a skirt. It's not a kilt, it's a skirt." Just fantastic, dude. He was just so great, so funny, so witty. And Dave Meltzer posted an interview that he did with him back in 2001, and the guy was just so sharp and so quick. He told a story about Mae Young. Mae Young, I guess of Mae Young Classic fame, but she was just a really old wrestler, and they said something. Oh, Dave said to him, he goes, this is back in 2001, so keep it in mind. But he said, "How long have you been in the business, Bobby?" And Bobby goes, "Oh, about 40 years. And he goes, "I guess you got time on just about everybody. Well, except Mae Young." And then Bobby goes, "I used to date Mae." And Dave goes, "You did?" And he said, "Yeah, she actually had a tooth back then. It was real nice. It was good for opening cans." And he goes, and then sometimes we'd be at the bar and guys would come over and try to light it. The guy who just knew how to tell it, and just off the top of his head, he would just say stuff like that. If you go onto YouTube and just check out old interviews with Bobby Heenan, they're all like that. Just quick one-liners. He doesn't ever say the same thing twice. Just a awesome guy, really funny guy, man. He's gonna be missed. So, rest in peace, Bobby. We all love you. We all miss you. I'm gonna play another clip at the end of the show. I haven't decided which one I want to play yet, but it's gonna be a really good one. There's so many to play. I couldn't really narrow it down to just one. So, man, that sucks.
Yeah, that's a hard one, and I remember the Shawn Michaels one because a couple of years ago, obviously several years ago when Shawn Michaels was still wrestling, they had brought Marty Jannetty back to asked Shawn Michaels for help on something about trying to be a wrestler again. And when they brought Marty Jannetty back on Monday Night Raw, they played that clip over and over again. And as you were talking about it, I can just hear Bobby the Brain just saying, "Did you see that? He tried to jump out the window to get away from him." Just over and over again. That's the one that really sticks out to me. And kudos to you, man. On Twitter, when we lost him, changing the Twitter profile pic a great choice, but all the just great quotes that you had found and tweeted out. I know everybody who follows us on the Pod Express on Twitter, it was clearly appreciated, and just a fun time scrolling through all of those.
Yeah, we got a lot of love for that, and Jim Ross actually retweeted one of them, and I think we got a shit ton of likes on that one, man, and a lot of retweets.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most interaction we've had so far on the Twitter account, but you can never go wrong with posting quotes from Bobby the Brain. I mean, it's always a good choice, and there's a lot of bad shit on Twitter right now, a lot of depressing stuff, so that was a good change of pace to get some fun stuff out there for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I obviously, as everybody can tell, I love talking about Bobby the Brain Heenan. So I was glad to do that. I really should have been working, but but I couldn't get my mind off of it. And I told this story on the Garbage Time show last night. But on my whiteboard at work, my whiteboard I have hung up on my wall, and it's really there for me to put little reminders of things I have to do. And I quit using it a long time ago, so I started going down the hallway at work, and all the dumb kids that I work with were putting up inspirational quotes and things like that, and proud to be an American stuff. And so whenever I got to my desk, I was like, I want to put something ridiculous. And I swear to God, this was a year ago, and I put money is the root of all wealth, and that's and I put Bobby the Brain Heenan. I was like, just a dumb, out of context quote. It was just something that he said on commentary one time while calling a $1 Million Man match, and they were trying to insult the $1 Million Man, saying he was evil, and that was the way he stood up for him. It's like, well, money is the root of all wealth.
Yep.
and he's right. He's absolutely right about that.
Absolutely. And I want to go back real quick on you brought up Mae Young of the Mae Young Classic fame. My actual first memory of Mae Young, because like I said, I'm 24. I've got bits and pieces of the Attitude Era in my mind from getting to watch with you and what I've seen on the network. But my first experience with Mae Young was her actually giving birth to that stupid ass glove hand, the love child with Mark Henry.
Yeah.
So and then she did come back a lot over the years on SmackDown and Raw. I think she was in a bikini contest one time where she showed her boobs for some reason, and I got to see her get put through tables by the Dudleys. Just bringing up Mae Young reminded me of some of those crazy-ass moments that I got to grow up with her watching as well.
Yeah. And we're back. Hey, sorry about that, folks. Little technical difficulties. But, we're not going to stay on Bobby the whole time, although I could talk about that guy for hours. But there's a lot of news that has come out. We're recording this before the Wrestling Observer comes out, so if everybody who has listened to this before say, oh, well, they just rip off Dave, which is, well, it's pretty true.
90% true.
90% true. Well, we're actually recording this before the Wrestling Observer comes out, so...
so anything Dave puts in there tomorrow, that fucker's ripping us off.
Exactly, yeah. It's totally the other way around. So, our top story was obviously Bobby, but I just want to touch on this real quick. Canelo Triple G, thank you, Joe, for watching that live and actually live tweeting during it. Dude, the Twitter feed was so fucking funny. Because I watched it the Sunday morning afterwards, and so I went, and I didn't look at Twitter at all, because I did not want to know what happened. And just, you're complimenting the fight, and you're scoring the fight as you go along, and you're like, this fight is great, and you go, man, fuck boxing's bullshit. that was so funny, man.
All right, so here's the thing. Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of live boxing. I've seen Mike Tyson fights, watching on ESPN Classic. I've seen Muhammad Ali, stuff like that. But I've never gotten a chance to watch a lot of live boxing. It started to fade out as I got older, and UFC became the more popular sport. So that was really my first experience sitting and watching or second experience now, because I watched the Mayweather-McGregor thing. But sitting and watching a boxing match from bell to bell, start to finish. And I was into it, man. It was a great fight. There were several occasions where they literally just went forehead to forehead and just were throwing punches at each other with no regard for defense. Like, they just ate punches and threw punches. And I was 100% into it. And I felt Triple G won. I predicted Alvarez would win. I thought Canelo would win. I was wrong. When they were announcing the decision, I had my tweet all typed out. Triple G wins by unanimous decision, and I, even had hashtag old man strength. I was because Triple G is the older guy. Old man strength. It was what caused him to win. And before I could ever send it out, they announced the draw. it was bullshit. Like, in what universe did Canelo win 118 to 110?
Yeah.
In what universe?
Yeah, I was telling the guys last night that Adelaide Bird, the judge who gave him that score, she's had a lot of issues in MMA too, and this is not her first rodeo of fucking up, combat sports matches. And I really think she filled out that card before the fight ever started.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only explanation. I don't know how you could watch that and score it the way that she did. Maybe she thought that Canelo's cuter, which, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm a guy, I'm straight, but, if I had to choose between the two, yeah, I'd say Canelo's cuter. But that's not why you should let him win the match.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it, but I will say this. Inevitably, there's going to be a rematch. Probably May of next year.
Yeah. And
for the first time in my life, when that rematch happens, I will pay for a boxing match. I will order the pay-per-view. I'll shell out the $60 myself, and I will pay to watch that because that fight was that damn good. They delivered.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great fight.
Everybody to also.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the fight and you're only listening to the show and you don't care about boxing or MMA, I think this is an all-time classic. So XWT is your friend for everybody out there. Find a way to watch this fight. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I said the same thing. I thought Triple G won, and you know what? You could argue a draw. You could argue 114. If you go back and rewatch the fight, some of those rounds are a little closer than we thought. But yes. on initial reaction, I thought, Triple G won a lot more of the rounds than Canelo. But if you go back, some of those things were pretty close. Triple G ate a lot of punches when he's coming forward, and he walks through punches a lot because he's just a big, tough son of a bitch. So he leaves himself open a lot. So maybe that's what they were looking at. But I just saw Triple G as the clear winner. But if it was 114 all the way, I wouldn't have argued, honestly.
Yeah, but I think if you're a numbers person, and looking at how many strikes or how many punches were thrown, body shots, headshots, all that, Triple G landed way more strikes. But the significant strikes, which is something that's a little bit more important to people, or power strikes, I do believe Canelo had a slight edge there by maybe 3 or 5 punches. I think he had more power strikes landed. So in that aspect, it was close. But watching the fight, Triple G controlled the ring more. He walked Canelo back into corners. Canelo basically had his back up against the ropes most of the fight. As I said before, I haven't watched a lot of boxing. Maybe that's how Canelo fights. Maybe he feels comfortable with his back towards the ropes. But Triple G seemed to be the aggressor and was walking him down the whole fight. And that's what, to me, gave the edge to Triple G over Canelo.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not a judge. I hate the way judging is. When I gave out my reaction, I looked at other people's feeds, and I was not alone. Apparently, this is a major issue in boxing. I've had a lot of issue with MMA judging in the past, but I was hoping for a better outcome here. We'll see. Hopefully, next time they don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, so we got No Mercy coming up this Sunday. This is a huge card. We got a lot of big matches on this card. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm going to forego watching the Raiders on Sunday night because who cares about the Raiders? And I will just watch this live. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So the main event, which is the match that I'm looking forward to the most, and I know what you're going to say, so I'll go ahead and say my piece first. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good match. And, if I got to pick on this deal, I'm going to pick Braun Strowman in an upset here. I think Braun Strowman takes it. I think right now you strap the rocket to Strowman, he's going to be the guy, I think. And I think he's just super hot right now. That's the only way you go with it. And then, maybe do a rematch with Brock Lesnar down the road, maybe Survivor Series. Or they just let Brock move on. He gives the rub to Strowman here. Strowman carries the belt for a while. And then Brock in a co-main event or third from the top, has his last match at WrestleMania next year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. WWE's had a problem with creating new stars the last few years. They had an opportunity with Dean Ambrose. He was really hot coming out of the Shield. They dropped the ball after the Seth Rollins feud. They had a shot with Roman Reigns. Didn't really book him right. Fans never got behind him. They They had a shot with Seth Rollins. He wasn't really their fault. He tore his knee apart. It didn't quite work out. Nakamura, they haven't been able to book him properly to where, hardcore fans still love him, but they've kind of slowed his temperament down a little bit. So it's been hard to see him as a major star. But if you look at Braun Strowman from when he debuted with the Wyatt family, actually going back further, when he debuted as a Rosebud with Adam Rose to going to the Wyatt family to now, you could not book him better, because when he first came on the scene, the initial reaction was Vince McMahon wants him versus Undertaker. And it was, only because Braun's a big guy, Vince McMahon has a hard-on for him, which that was probably the case. So fans were kind of against him for a long time. He kept working at it. He's obviously improved over time. And then him destroying Roman Reigns really got fans 100% behind him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been, 2 years now, that you could have booked Braun Strowman any better. If you have him lose clean here, I think he could survive it, but I think you hurt your business. And right now, it's football season.
Mm-hmm.
Ratings are going to take a hit. Ticket sales are going to take a hit. You need a new star, because Brock is going to be going away.
John Cena.
Yep. John Cena is going to be going away. He's got 3 movies coming up. And Roman Reigns is not the guy who moves the needle. Braun Strowman might be.
Yeah.
He's the hottest star they have right now. They need to get on that ship and go with it.
Absolutely.
And then you have your champion available to be for every Monday Night Raw, every pay-per-view. It makes the most business sense to make this move now.
Absolutely, man. So that's what I'm calling for. I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but that's what I want to see, definitely. I want to see Braun win. You can still keep Brock strong in a losing effort, but his contract's up next year. Who knows if he's going to re-sign. He's going to try to hold the company up for a lot of money. I say you just move forward with Braun Strowman, and then maybe you have Brock, maybe you don't. The next matchup is another huge match that I thought should have been saved for WrestleMania, and that's John Cena and Roman Reigns, which to me, in my opinion, has kind of cooled off lately, but it's still a big match between two of the top stars, and two guys that can really go in the ring. They can have really good matches, so I'm really looking forward to it. Like we said earlier, John Cena's going to be gone for a while, so I'm taking Roman in this one.
Yeah, and for all the same reasons I said Braun needs to win, I think that's why Roman needs to win now, because John Cena's going away, Roman Reigns is going to be there. You need to make him look strong. This past week, they brought up that John Cena wasn't on Raw, to my knowledge. They had Roman bring up a few points that I think if anybody else aside from Roman wouldn't get to bring up, the fact that Alex Riley clearly got buried because of an incident with John Cena. They brought that up.
Well, give us a little bit of background on that.
Well, they don't know. They've never said the full story, but Alex Riley was with The Miz. He was, I believe, his NXT guy, and became tag partners and managers with The Miz. And something happened behind the scenes after Alex Riley broke off from The Miz. They had Riley turn on Miz, and Riley was really hot coming out of that feud. And there was something said that John Cena didn't like the way Riley worked, or maybe Riley had said something to him backstage that rubbed Cena the wrong way. So, again, this is just speculation, but there's a lot of reports for it out there that enough of it seems to be true that John Cena went to Vince McMahon and said, "Hey, I don't think this guy has it." And immediately after that, Riley started losing, started getting put, not on TV anymore, eventually got thrown back down in NXT as kind of a jobber and moved to commentary because John Cena said he didn't have it. Yeah. Now, Roman's comment was he looked a little bit too much like John Cena, had a similar haircut, similar build, and Cena he didn't like that. So that's why Cena had Riley, kind of pushed back. And then a big thing with the Rock and Cena feud is Cena called out the Rock for saying the WWE is his home, he's never going to leave it, and then he leaves it for another movie. That was the biggest part of what John Cena had on the Rock. That was basically the entire 2-year build that Cena had on the Rock. And now, fast forward a couple years, John Cena's a part-timer who said WWE is his home and he'll never leave it, and he's going to leave to make another movie. So they had Roman bring that up. They had Roman show a clip of John Cena calling The Rock a hypocrite for being a part-timer and leaving for movies. And I think no one aside from Roman could do that. I'm sure John Cena had to approve it before they would let it be said. But I think that was I've been saying for years that somebody needed to bring that up on TV, because it really bothered me that Cena called The Rock out for doing that, and now he's doing the exact same damn thing. So I'm glad Roman finally brought that up. Good for him to bring it up when Cena's not there to have a rebuttal, because Cena would have just buried him, because Cena is the best on the mic in WWE. But I think it adds a little extra fire that was missing in the previous week to this No Mercy matchup. It'll be interesting to see how they book the match, though.
Yeah.
Because if they want to go with Braun versus Roman again somewhere in the future, because those are your two top guys left on the Raw roster, Roman's not going to get cheered. It's just not going to happen. Braun is the guy right now. So it'll be interesting to see how Roman comes out of this Cena match.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in it too. Like I said, I think it's going to be a really good match. I think Roman wins, and then John Cena goes away for a little while. So, and I think that it'd be great to have Braun and Roman strong on your main show, because Brock and John Cena, they're going to be gone. They're not going to be around, so you need to have those guys strong and to be your main eventers. So there you go. The next match is the Women's Championship. You got Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Emma, and Bayley in a big return. She returned in San Jose, her hometown, on Monday night. And she's supposed to be a babyface, yet they triple-teamed Nia Jax, and then her and Sasha double-teamed Alexa Bliss and beat her up. But we're supposed to cheer her, I guess. So, a fatal, was it a fatal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Fatal 5-way.
Yeah.
Anybody could win this match. It's really not that significant, honestly.
The only significance of it is, who are they going to feed to Asuka? That's it. Because whoever wins this, Asuka is the one lying there and waiting.
So it's got to be Alexa then, right? Alexa's got to stay the champion because she's the heel.
Well, do you want, because Asuka was a heel at the end of her time in NXT.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So do you want?
Yeah, but dude, she's going to come in and get cheered right away, though.
Yeah. I mean, so I think eventually Asuka probably turns heel. I don't know. Well, you know what? I take it back. I seen Asuka versus Alexa in a house show last year in Tulsa, because Tulsa is a city that exists in Oklahoma.
It's Bobby the Brain Heenan once called it a swamp. So
yeah, you know what? I agree with them. I've been there, and it's kind of a shit. They do have a fantastic Hard Rock, though. I did really like the Hard Rock there, but that's another story. Alexa versus Asuka last year, and Alexa's improved a lot since then, but that match was actually surprisingly good. Most of it carried by Asuka. Alexa did get busted open in it and worked through it. So I was gonna shit on that match a little bit, but I actually would like to see that on the main roster and see how far Alexa's really came. And from there, I mean, there's some other good matches. I'm really just waiting for Sasha to turn heel. Maybe that happens here. Sasha turns on Bayley to win the title, and we get Sasha versus Asuka, because we haven't seen that match yet. I think that might be the best match that the Raw side could put on.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, I got a question. So this is really important, and it's related to wrestling. So at the Tulsa Hard Rock, do they play a lot of Kid Rock?
They actually, the entire time I was there, did not play a single Kid Rock song. It seems
like a Kid Rock town.
No, there was no Kid Rock. A lot of Blink 182 stuff.
Really?
They had a lot of Blink 182 memorabilia there.
All right. I was getting ready to make fun of Tulsa a little bit, but they kind of won me over.
Who is it? Is it Travis Barker?
Yeah.
They had his cast hung up. Apparently, he had performed there with a broken leg and signed the cast and left it there.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so the next match is for the Tag Team Championship. It's Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, I guess 2/3 of the Shield, against Sheamus and Cesaro, The Bar. The Bar, is that the shittiest tag team name of all time? Or
it's got to be.
Well, I mean, Techno Team 2000 was probably worse, but that little shout out to Mike Gaspar. That was his favorite tag team of all time, the Techno Team 2000. And I think after their, I want to say mid 2000s, they had a tag team called the Dicks. Which is probably yours.
No, not at all. I guess I like the bar better than Cesaro. I mean, they could have went with something stupid like that.
Yeah, because they did that where they just merged the names for a while. They did Rated RKO. They did Breezango. I think they did Jera Show Miz, Y2AJ. So yeah, they did that a lot. So yeah, I'm glad they didn't do Cesaro.
Better than Cesaro.
Yeah, could be worse. I'm gonna take Ambrose and Rollins in that one.
Yeah, it makes the most sense, but I'm not a fan of continuously seeing rematches, but I feel like they'll at least put on another really good match, and it'll be interesting. I hope we don't see another one after this, though.
Yeah. All right, for the Intercontinental Championship, you got the Miz versus Kurt Angle's Black Sun, Jason Jordan. Yeah.
They look exactly alike too.
They actually do kind of look alike. That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you're not really a Howard Stern fan, but I am. Kurt Angle used to be like a recurring character on Howard, and he would always go on there and talk about his love for black women. So that's why this whole angle is so funny. And he you could probably find it on YouTube somewhere, but he actually wrote a poem to Howard's co-host Robin Quivers, and wrote a poem and asked her out on a date, but Robin eventually turned him down. So little Kurt Angle trivia for you. And shout out to all the Howard Stern fans out there. But is there any chance that Miz loses here?
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't think so, because I really feel like the Miz is probably the only guy right now who can keep that title relevant. I mean, he's shown it time and time again that once you take it off of him, people stop really caring about it, and it's because he's such a damn good promo. People hate him so much, and he has ability to make you hate him. I don't see the need to take it off of him until Jordan turns heel, because the fans are just not behind Jordan yet. He's had some really good matches in the last couple weeks. He's not there yet. No. So unless he's going to turn heel and have a really interesting story, I would rather the Miz win here and then maybe get Balor next for the Intercontinental title. Because I think Balor is somebody who is a big enough name where people will stay interested in the title if he holds it.
Yeah, and I think they could have good matches. I'm gonna stick with the Miz on this one. I don't know when he's gonna go off for maternity leave because he's having a kid, but hopefully he keeps the belt for a while. The next match, speaking of Balor, is Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt. Bray is angry at him because he wears face paint. I guess that's the feud.
That's pretty. I care nothing. Bray Wyatt was my favorite wrestler when he was introduced.
Yeah,
for the longest time. He had such a great gimmick, and he works well for a guy his size. He was creepy, he was unique, and now it's a little early in the show for this, but it's literally my who gives a shit. I care nothing about this match.
Yeah, hold those gems for the end of the show, man. Come on now. Yeah, but I got Finn Balor. Who you got?
Balor.
Okay. And for the Cruiserweight Championship, you got Neville versus Enzo Amore. Enzo has been killed every week since he became the number one contender. So that means he's winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes the most sense. And he's moved the needle a little bit on 205 Live, so why not? Let's try this experiment and go full on with it and see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, the Cruiserweight Championship means absolute dog shit right now, so it doesn't matter that Enzo's got his ass kicked every week. Hopefully that they don't do that to him when he gets the title, but they really hate this guy, man. Apparently he's going to put out a shitty rap album later.
Oh God, I didn't know that.
Is there any chance that's good?
No. Well, all right, hold on. In comparison to what are we saying? Is it any chance it's good in comparison to Eminem or P Diddy? No.
Only a white guy would bring up Eminem first. I'm just saying.
To be fair, he sold like 200 million albums, okay?
That is true, yeah.
But is it going to be any good in comparison to John Cena? Who knows? It's probably closer than it should be. Yeah,
it's probably going to be a John Cena level rap album. Yeah, I could see that.
Did Hulk Hogan have a rap album?
No, Macho Man did.
Macho Man.
And he had a diss track on Hulk Hogan. No, not even kidding. Called "Be a Man." I'm all up on my Macho Man Randy Savage rap albums.
Did it bring up his affair with Stephanie McMahon Helmsley?
I don't think he actually brought that up.
Oh, damn.
Especially because him doing that would have been illegal at the time, apparently.
Yeah. Damn laws.
Yeah. So that's it from the No Mercy preview. I think it's going to be a good show. There's going to be some good matches on it. The tag team match is going to be good. The two main events are going to be good. So we'll have all the results, and we'll give you all the star ratings right here next week. Some other news that came out just yesterday. WWE is bringing back Starrcade. Starrcade's the old WCW pay-per-view that they started back in 1983 when they were just Jim Crockett Promotions. It's a brainchild of Dusty Rhodes. And if you guys have never seen the Starrcades before, on the network right now they have an actual best of Starrcade, and they have all the Starrcades if you want to just watch them all back to back. The early ones are really good though, so everybody should go check those out. But that got some heat with Cody Rhodes. Because apparently they booked the Starrcade. It's going to be in Greensboro on November 25th. And they're using Dusty's idea, but they didn't book Goldust on it. So Cody Rhodes tweeted at Michael PSAs. And he said, hey, if you're going to steal my dad's idea, at least book Goldie. And then so PSAs responded back to him. He goes, all right, sounds good. How about I book you and him? And then that got the Hardys chirping. Now the Hardys want to wrestle them. So like the Goldust and Cody Rhodes are trying to get a tag team match against the Hardys and blah, blah, blah. Now, keep in mind, none of that's going to happen because Cody Rhodes is under contract to Ring of Honor. But I thought it was kind of cool to see all the back and forth in this. I think it's a great concept, a great idea. Unfortunately, I think it's just a house show. It doesn't appear to be anything that's going to be on the WWE Network. But if that's the case, I think they're really missing the boat because I'd really like to see kind of an old-school themed pay-per-view like this.
Well, they've done network specials in the past. I mean, remember when they went over to Tokyo, they brought Brock with them, and it was a quote-unquote house show, but they aired it live on the network. That's where Balor won the title. They did the one, I think they called it Roadblock at the time, where it was just a network special house show. So the possibility is still being there for it to be aired. I hope they decide to. I really don't see the point of giving it this big of a name if you're not going to air it in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they record it and air it at a later time. That's always a possibility. Yeah. I really like Michael Hayes for just firing right back at Cody Rhodes and saying, hey, yeah, we should book him and you should come right along. Yeah. No chance in hell that's going to happen.
No.
But if it does, Cody Rhodes is the Ring of Honor World Champion. When would the last time has WWE or WWF let another world champion from another promotion, not WCW that they would have owned at the time, come onto their show?
They did it with
Ring of Honor.
They did with I don't want to bust your butt. They did it with ECW. So
okay,
yeah.
would that have been what Taz? Was he? Yeah. Yep. But for that point, they knew, was Taz getting ready to come over anyway?
Taz was already under contract to WWE. He just happened to be the ECW champion.
Yeah. So you have that, but Cody Rhodes not going to be contracted to WWE at all. I think it would be a big opportunity for Ring of Honor if the offer is really there. I think Ring of Honor should let them do it.
Yeah, why not?
You get your champion on the WWE Network. It gets your name out there a little bit. I don't think anybody loses in that scenario. It gives good credibility to WWE, showing that you're not just the money-hungry corporation who's trying to shut everybody down. They've worked with Progress a little bit here or there, so why not work with Ring of Honor a little bit? Bring Cody Rhodes in. I think it's just good for everybody.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. So right now they got scheduled a double steel cage main event. They got Jinder and Shinsuke Nakamura, and they got Natalya versus Charlotte as the co-main. Both steel cage matches. And then they got some other SmackDown matches. It's supposed to be a SmackDown house show. And but then they got appearing the Rock and Roll Express, the Hardy Boys. I openly petitioned for them to bring on Jim Cornette, who we'll talk about later. And that'd be kind of cool if they bring in Goldust and they bring in Cody Rhodes to do something. I think that'd be really fun. Why not?
And bring back War Games next.
Yeah. Nobody loses, man.
Yeah.
All right, so Ric Flair, he had come out in an interview with People Magazine today. I didn't realize that People had a TV show or whatever, an internet show, but they posted a video of them interviewing Ric Flair, and it's kind of an eye-opening, kind of a sad interview, but he finally admitted after all these years that he's an alcoholic. everybody else for years has been telling him that he's an alcoholic. He was the only one that didn't believe it, but he almost had to die for him to realize it, and that's usually what happens. So he's come out as an alcoholic, and he said he's never going to drink again. So good for the Nature Boy. I'm glad that he has finally figured this out. And here's to, a long life for the Nature Boy.
Yeah, that one kind of hits close to home, but I hope he sticks to his word, man, because wrestling has suffered a lot of losses lately, and we're not ready to lose the greatest of all time yet.
Nope, not at all. Gender is a racist. I guess his story is being picked up by the Washington Post, but on SmackDown Live this week, he referred to Shinsuke Nakamura as Mr. Miyagi. And some people are... And, if he didn't do that here in Northern California... nobody would have even, noticed it, I think, but because we're so liberal out here, all the snowflakes got offended, and and look, everybody knows how I vote, so I'm one of those guys, but people need to calm down, man. It's not that big of a deal.
Well, all right, hold on. It is a big deal because the Ginger's biggest part of his gimmick is people only hating him for his race and or perceived religion.
Yeah, so but he's a heel.
But that's why it's a big deal for wrestling, is because everybody hates him because of his race, and then he's being a racist towards a Japanese wrestler.
That's what heels do. Heels are hypocrites. Heels lie.
I don't know, man. I think I don't think it was too far. Like I'm a white male, so I can't be offended by anything. But I find it funny. But I think for the storyline and for who Ginger's supposed to be, I think it was just a stupid, unnecessary move. Yeah.
I think the biggest story coming out of SmackDown... SmackDown wasn't a very good show, by the way. Nothing really happened. But I think the biggest news to come out of SmackDown is that it had terrible, terrible attendance. Did you see the pictures that people tweeted out?
I did, man. And it's been the same for Raw. They've had to cover up a lot of the seats in Raw, and this has been going on for a few weeks. Ticket prices are too high. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. And the product is not hot right now. Especially on SmackDown, they took away all the biggest stars. They moved them all over to Raw. You still get Shinsuke, you still get AJ Styles, and now they're trying to make Bobby Roode. But really, that's it. And SmackDown is so cold right now. It was an hour from my house last night, and I didn't go.
You know what? You can credit like taking the stars away, but to give you an idea of just how ticket prices have changed in the last year. It was May of 2016 that Monday Night Raw had a house show here at the JQH Arena in Springfield. And the day of the show, there were tickets available for $20. And really good seats, too. We went. It was a great show. It filled up the arena. The same exact show a year later, it was August of this year, the lowest price ticket was $75.
Wow.
That was face value. So... over tripled the cost, and I didn't go to it. No need to. I mean, I can't afford it at that price, and that was just a house show. I can't imagine what SmackDown or Raw prices are, what pay-per-view prices are at this point. I mean, they've overvalued their tickets for a product that's not insanely high. I mean, ratings have been low, and it's, like I said, a big part of wrestling over the next 3 months is it's football season. You have real competition right now. So you're going to have to lower ticket prices if you want people to show up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And and they got to do better at making a better TV show too. I mean, SmackDown was not very good.
But at the end of the day, whether it be a shit TV show or a bad TV show, people are just not going to pay that much, no matter how hot it is. I mean, you're going to have to understand the economics of your audience.
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. So we're actually running out of time. We actually went a lot longer than I thought, especially considering we didn't even have the Observer here to get all the notes from. So we did pretty good. So let me just run through some stuff. This Friday, you got Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. The main event of that is going to be American Nightmare Cody Rhodes versus Minoru Suzuki, the never openweight champion from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that's going to be a great match. I'm looking forward to watching it Saturday morning on XWT. But I think that's going to be a really good match. I see Cody winning there. You got the Ring of Honor World Television Championship, Kushida versus your favorite wrestler, Kenny King.
Is Kenny King my favorite wrestler this week?
Well, it's because he's a Chippendale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember you bringing that. It's funny that you would be the one to remember that.
Well, yeah, I only remember it to remind you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason.
Well, I'm more of a Kushida fan, but good for Kenny King. I mean,
yeah,
make money any way you can.
Yeah, well, he sucks, so I hope Kushida wins. The six-man championship, you got Hangman Page and the Young Bucks versus the winner of the Kingdom versus Bully Ray and the Briscoes. I think that Bully Ray and the Briscoes end up taking this title. And Adam Page ends up out of the Bullet Club. I'm hearing rumors about him leaving Bullet Club. So,
I mean, the rumor is that he might be on his way to the big time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend.
Yep. A last man standing match. You got pro wrestling's last real man, Silas Young. I love that gimmick. And is with the Beer City Bruiser. He's taking on Jay Lethal. We got a Las Vegas street fight, Jay White versus Punishment Martinez. That should be a really good match. I have been very impressed with both these guys, especially Punishment Martinez. He's a really big guy in Ring of Honor, and he seems like a fish out of water there, but I think he's holding his own. I think he's really good.
Yeah, and honestly, Jay Lethal, at one point, going back to him real quick, at one point I thought he might have been the best wrestler in the world. It looks like he started to slow down a little bit, but he still puts on a solid match, and honestly, I've only had one Ring of Honor card really disappoint me lately. Everything else, aside from just that one a couple months ago, I think has been very solid. And I do want to real quick go on record as to say the Cody Rhodes match, I will pre-predict the star rating, and I'll say it'll get a 3.75 star rating because that's what every Cody Rhodes 3.75.
Wow.
That's what every Cody Rhodes match gets. So.
All right, well, you're forgetting that he's wrestling a guy from New Japan. And New Japan, their matches start off at 4 stars.
Yeah, but it's not going to be in Tokyo Dome, so you got to take away a little bit for that.
Okay, I see you. I feel you. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to just gloss right over that. I just see we're kind of coming up on time here. Impact Global Force TNA news. So they're no longer Global Force. They're back to Impact. Since they got rid of Jeff Jarrett, they never secured the naming rights to Global Force Wrestling, I guess. So,
which is the most Impact thing to do.
Yeah. Which is a typical Impact move. Bound for Glory is going to be live from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So I guess that means something. Anthem Entertainment, they're actually a Toronto-owned company, so it makes sense that they're moving everything to Canada. And because of that, Cornette is gone. Jim Cornette is no longer with the company because he's not allowed to travel to Canada because Jim Cornette has had some trouble with the law with some violence.
God.
Yeah. MMA news. I actually got a chance to watch the Luke Rockhold, Dave Branch UFC Fight Night this past week from Pittsburgh, and I got to tell you, that was a really good show. Just about every other fight was a knockout or a submission. Luke Rockhold ended up beating Dave Branch in the second round. Dave Branch tapped due to strikes. He's taken some heat from that, but if I were in the same position, I would have done the same thing. Yeah, he won his match. It was a really good show from top to bottom. It looks like that Luke is putting himself back into contention for a middleweight championship match.
Yeah, and just for everybody out there, don't waste your money on a lot of UFC pay-per-views because in terms of quality, you're going to get better quality matches, better quality fights right there on Fox or Fox Sports 1. I mean, guys really have to go out there and deliver because that's their opportunity to make a name for themselves. And then once they get to the pay-per-view and are trying to make money, at that point is when they really hold it back and try to not lose as opposed to win. So just watch what they put out on free TV.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You can't go wrong with the UFC Fight Night card usually. I think there's another one this week, but the main event is they brought back Yushin Okami, and he's taking on Oven St. Preux. It's going to be live from Japan. The original match was going to be OSP versus Shogun, but Shogun's off the card. He's hurt. So, in other news, Carlos Condit looks like he's making a comeback.
Yeah,
he tweeted at Sean Shelby yesterday, "Hey, can you book me for January?" And Sean Shelby said, "You goddamn right I can." So,
goddamn, that's my favorite meme. I keep it saved in my phone, and I will regularly bring it up in conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited to see the Natural Born Killer back. He's a great fighter. Ronda Rousey's coach Edmund Tarverdian wants Ronda to fight Cyborg. I think we can start a new segment here that Edmund Tarverdian's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, my question is, maybe Ronda Rousey has a big life insurance policy and he's the beneficiary to it.
I guess maybe that's the case. I don't know. I know he's had some issues with the IRS, so who knows, man? Who knows what's going on?
I mean, it would be a big draw, but like in reality, at this point, from what we've seen from both fighters in the last year, Cyborg would probably murder her. I mean, there's a big difference in power, and Ronda Rousey doesn't have a chin to take punches.
Nope. All right, so we're on to Who Gives a Shit. Joe, what's your Who Gives a Shit of the week?
My Who Gives a Shit is Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor. I'm a big fan of both guys, but WWE has just booked the same crap over and over again, and I don't know why they continue with this storyline. It makes no sense. The only thing is Bray Wyatt, I guess, hates Finn Balor because Finn Balor has a demon inside of him. I don't know.
I guess.
Honestly, I might use that as my bathroom break during No Mercy, which I hate to say because Balor's been one of my favorite wrestlers since he joined the NXT roster and moved up. It's just I'm so against this storyline, and it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care about that one either. Mine's going to be the Fatal 5-Way for the Women's Championship. So, before anybody calls me sexist, I just don't care. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so quick hits. Goldust wrestles without makeup. Joe, you put that on there. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, it just really caught me off guard. It happened to be the same day that Michael Hayes and Cody Rhodes had their little exchange. He doesn't wrestle without makeup often.
No.
Since the time he's returned to WWE, which would actually be back for the feud that he had against the Authority, where him and Cody came back and their dad, Dusty Rhodes, was managing for him. He's always been in makeup, and they kind of did a big reveal where he's still in his Goldust bodysuit, but no makeup. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with that.
Yeah, I'd like to see him come out as the Natural with that old theme song. that was a cool theme song. WWE 2K18 first gameplay trailer leaked. I guess there's 2 story options for career mode. I don't play video games, so I have no idea what this means.
Yeah, the 2K18 comes out next month. They IGN dropped the first trailer for it. They do have a career mode on there where if you want to build your own WWE superstar and go through a career with him and build him up. They're actually telling a story with this career mode where you can either be a company guy and try to work to Vince McMahon's favor, or you can be a fan favorite and try to play to the fans and get the roster and the fans to like you. I was really against this game because I thought it was just going to be a piece of garbage like the last one, but with the details coming out about it now, I might actually buy it.
Well, cool, man. When you buy it, give us a review of that. Like I said, I don't play video games, so haven't in a long time. Jake LaMotta, the former middleweight champion, boxing middleweight champion, he died today at 95 years old. If you've ever seen the movie Raging Bull, that movie was about him, starring Robert De Niro. I think De Niro got a Oscar nomination, or I think he won or something. But that was a great movie. And let's see, what was his record? He was one of the all-time great fighters. He had 83 wins. So there you go.
Jesus Christ.
30 wins by knockout. So there you go. Jake LaMotta, one of the all-time greats, obviously way before any of our time. I know he fought Sugar Ray Robinson 6 times, and they were all like, that was back in the day when you could go like fucking 15 to 20 rounds, man. So those guys were all animals. So really surprising that a guy that fought that many times lasted until he was 95 years old, man. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, no shit, because they had absolutely no knowledge of CTE or brain damage or brain issues at all then. So they really didn't give a shit. So I guess it gives hope to all other fighters and football players out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So WWE Network, this happened just before we went on the air. They sent out a survey to everybody that has a subscription asking things that we would be interested in. And one of the things that kind of caught my eye was if we'd be interested in seeing GFW/Impact/TNA, some of their old stuff on there. I thought that was kind of curious, considering there was a rumor going around last week that maybe they were going to buy it.
Yeah, and not just old stuff. They've asked about, would you be interested in seeing new stuff from them? So possibly airing either live streams or new content. But they also brought up New Japan, Ring of Honor, like named New Japan and Ring of Honor, and one or two actually that I think people might be interested in. They said a new ECW that would be rated TV-14 to where it would have an edgier product than what you currently get with WWE. And they asked about tournaments. Would you like to see a WWE versus NXT tournament? which that one seems the most likely to happen because they wouldn't have to pay rights to any other company. You already have your roster base there, so you wouldn't have to spend a lot of money on it. I would like to see that one.
Yeah. What I didn't see on that survey was my fucking WWE Redemption tournament. God, they're missing the boat out on that, man. They need to do it. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work. I mean, there's tons of potential there for it. And if you're talking about old guys, not just old guys, but released wrestlers coming back, I mean, you got Wade Barrett out there. Damian Sandow, who was really over with the crowd during his last days there. There's a lot of guys, Carlito, Brodus. I mean, you got a lot of guys out there that could work. I mean, it makes sense. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and then one thing that I just put on our little notes section here. I just saw the new trailer for the Punisher TV show on Netflix. And son of a bitch, that is going to be awesome. Did you watch Daredevil?
I haven't. All right, hold on. Daredevil, the TV show, or that piece of shit movie with Ben Affleck?
No, not the movie with Ben Affleck. Fuck that movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the TV show on Netflix.
I haven't.
You're so stupid. You got to watch that. And then in season 2,
there's so much comic book stuff out
I know,
there right
dude,
now.
but
It's hard to keep up.
that kills all of them. I'm telling you, man, it's awesome. And then in season 2, they introduced Punisher, and he is such a badass, dude. And now they got a spin-off with just the Punisher. And the trailer for it, man, they got Metallica playing in the background. Oh my god, I cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out because the guy they have playing for it is the that piece of shit guy who from Walking Dead, right?
Yeah, Shane.
Yeah. I call him a piece of shit because I think he slept with Rick's wife. I don't watch that show very much, but that's kind of a dick thing to do.
Yeah, no, he did. He did.
Yeah.
When they thought Rick was dead, he ended up taking over as like the husband or whatever, and then Rick came back to life. So. And then Rick ends up killing him. Spoiler alert.
I mean, it's been like 6 years, so.
Yeah, dude, I stopped watching in like season 4, I think. So.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've seen some images from the Punisher. They had like some screenshots and on-set shots, and it looks badass. I'll definitely be tuning in for that one because I've blown through everything else I have right now, so I've been looking for a new show. This is coming along right at a perfect time.
I'm telling you, get started on Daredevil season 1. You will not be disappointed. Season 1 and season 2. Season 2 is better, I think. So it actually gets better as it goes along. So the first like episode or two, you gotta stick with it, but it gets really good. Trust me. All right. So what are you watching this weekend?
Man, I've got to go back and watch the Wrestling Observer Match of the Year that we talked about last week.
Yeah, but, Bobby the Brain took precedence.
Yeah, due to time constraints, and we normally record on Thursdays, and the 49ers and Rams play, so 49ers always takes first priority for me. Normally, Wednesday night would be my Match of the Year night, so I'm actually going to watch that this weekend. That way we'll be good to go for next week.
Cool, yeah, I'll watch that, and then plus we got... Man, all kinds. We got Death Before Dishonor. We got No Mercy on Sunday. I think UFC and Bellator are doing shows this weekend. So there's going to be a lot to watch. I will not get to most of it, honestly. I will watch every ounce of No Mercy, though, I'm thinking.
Yes.
And then
No Mercy will be watched in full.
Yeah, and then I'll most likely check out the Minoru Suzuki versus Cody Rhodes match. The rest of that show, I can live without it, but...
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Well, hey, that's going to do it for us this week. Be sure to go to gtppodcast.com and check out my column on Bobby the Brain Heenan. I'm really proud of that. I think it came out pretty good. Not to brag. Also, check out the Garbage Time Points podcast. Check them out at GTP Mike and Rick. I'm at Get Up Mike. Joe, you are?
At Joe Gilbert 1992.
And follow us on Twitter at The Pod Express. And that's going to do it for us. All right, talk to you guys next week. Bye.